It's collab season in gacha gaming right now. Arknights had their collab last month with the Dungeon Meshi stuff. Star Rail got its collab news today with Fate, Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Wuthering Waves is having a collab next year with Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Reverse 1999 is having a collab with Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So it's collab everywhere. You look here, you look there, it's collabs. But that raises the question, what is our favorite game, Genshin Impact, doing right now? I mean, it's a big thing. Every gacha game that I've played has had some sort of collab. Even Fate Grand Order, even though they collab with themselves for some reason. Type Moon doesn't like to go out of their space. Star Rail was very interesting, but yeah, they don't really collab with other stuff. But FGO collabed with themselves, the arcade version, and it was amazing. Genshin Impact has no collab. Now, people might say that Aloy was a collab character, but I disagree. I don't think Aloy was a collab character. I think Aloy was forced into the game. And I was there when Aloy was released. I came to Genshin specifically to get that free Aloy, because at that time I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn and I was fascinated. I loved Aloy. I mean, I still love Aloy, especially in Zero Dawn. She is gorgeous. And I came to Genshin to get that free Aloy. I read about her. I knew that PlayStation users were going to get her early, and then in the next patch, PC users and everybody else was going to get her for free in the mail. So there was no event, there was no wish page, there was no anything. You just, one day you woke up, you opened your game account and you got her in the mail. So I don't think that qualifies as a collab. So Genshin, why don't they collab? Now, this is all hypothetical. Like, I'm just going to bring out assumptions. And there are mainly three assumptions. First is that it's the lore purpose. Like, many people spout this and it kind of makes sense. But then, I mean, other games do it, and it's just like, when it's collab, you don't really look into the lore of it. You just have fun. But still, people say that Tivat has its own laws and we are already descenders, so we are already outside people. So if they have a collab, they would be implied to be the fifth or the sixth descenders, and it would just mess up stuff. So all those lore crazy people, the people who are fascinated by the lore, they have their points, and I kind of understand them. But still, I don't really vibe with that reasoning. Like, lore, nobody gives a crap about lore when it comes to collabs. They just want to see their favorite characters in a different perspective. But that was one assumption. The second assumption is they don't want to do it. The devs do not want to do it at all. Like, they just hate collabs. And Aloy was a one exception, because Sony forced their hand and they had to get Genshin on PlayStation. So I think that was the case, but the devs are not interested in collabing with stuff. And the third assumption is that Genshin has become such a cultural phenomena that they don't really need to collab with another game to spark interest in other people. Usually collabs happen when you want people to be interested in the game, like when you want two different factions, two different gaming communities to be interested in something. Like okay, let's say take Star Rail and Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, for example, the Fate collab. Communities from both Fate Stay Night, Fate Grand Order, Fate Apocrypha, anybody who knows the F of Fate, they've heard about the Star Rail collab. And people who play Star Rail who have never heard of Fate, they found out about Fate. So it kind of sparked interest. Now Genshin has become such a huge phenomenon. It's become a worldwide phenomenon that majority of the people know what Genshin is. So maybe the devs don't see a necessity to collab with somebody to spark interest, because literally every corner of the gaming community knows about Genshin Impact or have heard about it. And even the casuals, even the normal people who have not played a single video game, they still know about Genshin, because it's just so massive right now. They're collabing with the restaurants, they're collabing with fashion products, makeup products, cars. I don't know, they're everywhere. So those are my three assumptions on why Genshin probably doesn't do collabs. But But if they did a collab, which 3 franchises would you really want to see in Genshin Impact? Now I'm gonna put my top 3 franchises, top 3 media franchises that I would want to collab with Genshin Impact. And if you have any, list them down in the comments below, and if it matches with mine, say that as well. But the first franchise that I feel like that could work in Genshin Impact is, once again, Horizon Zero Dawn. Now I know Aloy and all, we had that, but if you think about it, if they actually put effort into it, like they do for the summer events, like they do for limited regions, or new regions or something like that, small regions as well, like the Rumeria region or the Chenyu Vale, if they did a limited time map like Similanka, or the Klee Island or whatever, and it was a huge forest filled with robotic monsters, filled with ruin guards with a different shade, like like they have those horns, so you can have saurians, but they're mechanical in nature. And you have Aloy, but not the Aloy that we have, the Aloy that is actually good. You can get constellations, or you can have a banner for her. And for the free collab character, somebody, you can probably pick anybody. I mean, the roster for Horizon is huge, although Aloy is the main one, but you can have Silence. I mean, Silence is a pretty damn good character. So you can work it out. Like if they made a limited time map, and if they actually put in effort for the Horizon collab, you could have collected chill water, or you could have collected metal scraps to gain upgrade materials for certain weapons, for certain limited time weapons, like the bow that Aloy uses in Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. It could have been massive, it could have been huge if they had just put in some effort into it. But I mean, it is what it is. What happened, and can't do anything. Aloy has forever become the most useless character in Genshin. Like even Mika or Razor is better than Aloy at this point, if somebody is really interested in them, because they have constellations. Aloy has nothing. But if they really focus on it, I feel that Horizon could have been a really good collab concept. Now moving to the second franchise, Final Fantasy. Obviously, I mean, whenever you look at Genshin Impact, the first thing is fantasy. This is a fantasy action adventure game, and while majority of the people would think that this is a Zelda game, my thoughts went to Final Fantasy, because they have literally something of everything, and it is fantastical in nature. I've only played, let's say, 3 Final Fantasy games. I mean, I've only completed 2 Final Fantasy games, and I've played a bit of the Final Fantasy 16, but it is amazing. Those games are actually amazing. They really merge the concept of modern and fantasy, or if you take 16 for example, the medieval stuff and fantasy really well. It's really well done, and I feel like if they get introduced as collab characters in Genshin, like maybe you could have Clive from Final Fantasy 16, or maybe you could have Cloud and Aerith from Final Fantasy 7, or maybe Noctis and Luna from Final Fantasy 15, or maybe Lightning from Final Fantasy 13, or I mean there are tons of Final Fantasy games out there. Final Fantasy is a thing that I think that could really work in Genshin Impact. Now majority of the thoughts would obviously go to the medieval stuff, like Final Fantasy 16 would be the best option, but seeing that we have a bike in Natlan, we have roller skates, we potentially have flying dragons and such, which is the equivalent of flying ships and all that you see in Final Fantasy 15, and we have guns. I mean, a musket. Chevreuse uses a musket, and Clorand has a pistol. So we have guns that you can relate it. You can relate. Like if you had a Final Fantasy 15 character collab with Fontaine, it would have worked really well, because Luna Freya can control the hydro or water spirits or something. She did something like that during the Venice chapter. And then you have Noctis, who's just Noctis. or you can have Cloud and Aerith or Tifa. I mean, it just exists. The concept could be there, but once again, it has to be a limited map, something really different from Tivat. Kind of like, kind of like how they do Similanka or how they do summer maps in general. That is the only way that I feel like, Genshin can collab with other games. With Final Fantasy out, the final one that I think that, that, and this is the one that always comes to my mind if I ever want a collab with Genshin. This is the one game that I feel like, it would really be a deal breaker. It would really fit so well into this game. I don't think any other game would fit really well into it. And it is because of this game that I actually started Genshin Impact, because when I played this particular game, I was so mesmerized with it that I really wanted something like it. Something like a video game which had an open, expansive world that got updated, so I have so that I get all the tidbits about what's happening in the world, like an ever-changing world. Something which wasn't available in that game because it was a AAA game. And that game was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is probably one of my most favorite games of all times. The open world in that game is phenomenal. Every decision you take impacts the open world. You save a person, that person down the road will come and thank you. But if you kill that person, maybe down the road you're gonna see family members pop up and do some backbenching about you. The quests over there were phenomenal. The fantasy, like you had the Skellige, you had Novigrad, you had Toussaint, you had the White Orchard, and every region just felt very different. Kind of like what Genshin is right now with Natlan, Fontaine, Sumeru, Inazuma. Everything just feels different. And so over there, everything just felt different. And it was a really fun game. It had crossbows, it had a sword, it had fantastical monsters, griffins, and tree monsters, and some Leshens they were called. And then you had those flying creatures and sirens, and I mean, it is a pure fantasy joy. And I feel like if they somehow made a collab possible with Genshin, with Geralt and Ciri appearing, it would be chef's kiss. I mean, that would probably be my favorite collab ever. Now, I know that is very highly unlikely because Genshin Impact is a game aimed at children due to its art style, and then you have The Witcher 3, which is like it's a hardcore 18+ game with a lot of violence and a lot of adult stuff over there. So it's probably unlikely, but we are getting Wuthering Waves and Edgerunners, so anything could be possible down the road. But these are the three media franchises that I feel like that could potentially collab with Genshin. Now there might be others, like people might want a Fate and Genshin collab. People might want an Arknights Genshin collab. I mean, Arknights would also really work. Or people might want literally something else, like I don't know, Persona, Street Fighter, God of War. I have no other idea. I mean, take any fantasy game ever, Skyrim, Fable, Avowed, or Claire Obscure. I don't know. But it could work. It could work in Genshin. But as I said, and this is what I actually feel, like the devs don't really want to do a collab for this game, and I'm okay with it. Like, it's fine. If you don't want to collab, don't do it, because it's better than something that's half-hearted, like like Aloy. So I would rather take a game fully focused on itself than the devs trying to do something that they don't want to do but they are forced to do. So it's kind of like, it kind of ruins the game and ruins the gameplay enjoyment as well. Those are my thoughts on why Genshin doesn't collab, and if Genshin collabs, what could be the media franchises that collab with Genshin. Now, Genshin does a lot of collabs outside of the gaming community, like like the latest makeup stuff, and then we had that car thing with Beidou and Kazuha. And then before that, we've had restaurant collabs. Look, the McDonald's one, and then there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff the Genshin has collabed with outside in the real world. So that's why I said that it's kind of like a cultural phenomena right now. So they don't really feel the need to collab with the game. But those are my thoughts. Let me know, what game would you like Genshin to collab with, and please do not say Honkai. Do not say Honkai. I do not want a Honkai in Genshin Impact. I do not want that nonsense over here. I mean, no hate against Honkai games. I mean, people love those games and I respect that. It's amazing. But I find collabing with yourself to be one of the most cheapest ways out of, they're just doing whatever they want. Like, do it like PGR. They did a collab with Devil May Cry. It was epic. I mean, I don't play PGR, but it was kind of epic. And they even do the Virgil moves and all. So if they want to do a collab, do it well, or they don't do it at all. And those are my thoughts for why Genshin, and those are my thoughts on basically Genshin and collabs in general. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and have a great day. Goodbye.